Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're wondering why you're getting this video on a Sunday, no, I did not accidentally walk into the office on a Sunday thinking it was a Monday. Sundays, if you haven't been a subscriber for a long time, is the day that I like to kind of just test content out. I treat it as a little bit of a playground. And today, the video I'm doing that with is the brand new A Conversation With interview/podcast show with Sean Evans. Sean Evans, of course, on the fantastic channel First We Feast. He is the amazing interviewer on Hot Ones. I've been a fan of his for a long time. I'm going to be on Hot Ones this week, and I thought perfect time to bring this show back. That said, a note I want to hit on because I know the internet in general is scared of change. So just keep in mind this is a test/playground video. That does not mean that the content of this channel is changing in any way. And in fact, most likely in the future, whenever this becomes more of a standard thing, it would exist on a different channel or potentially it's on a different platform. Who knows? But that said, because this is a different kind of video, if you like it, you want to see more of it, not even necessarily on this channel, hit that like button. Let me know how you're feeling. But with that said, I hope you enjoy. And here's the video. Fantastic transition, Phil. Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome to A Conversation With. Today, it is Mr. Sean Evans. You most likely know him from First We Feast. Also, Hot Ones. Of course, always in Today and Awesome, because it is awesome. Hello, welcome.
Thank you for having me, and then thank you for shouting out the show for so long. I feel like you were very much a Hot Ones corner man since day one. And like, even when we had no real heat, you know, people would be like, oh, Philly shouted you out on the show. Philly shouted you out on the show. So like, thank you for that.
Is that someone from the 30s?
I feel like every time I do a fan impression, I feel like I fall back on the same.
Hey there, I don't really like that. Yeah. So I get the question every now and then. They're like, "Are you part of that company?" And I'm like, "No." And I will say, and it's not to fluff you up before we go into the conversation, you interchange between my top two interviewers. Number one on YouTube, and the person you interchange with would be Howard Stern, who, for people that don't know him, is or at least that part of him is a fantastic interviewer. And I think that I was thinking about this before you came on, and I was like, I feel like they accomplish the same thing, but in different ways. He accomplishes it with the order of the questions, where you also do that a little bit, but then you accomplish that with burning people's faces off, and then they don't know what's happening, and then words come out of their face.
Well, that's like the biggest compliment, because he was such an influence on me.
Really?
Like, even when I was a little kid, I would like have Howard Stern tapes. Like, I'd make the tapes, I'd take him to school, like in study halls, I'd have just Howard Stern going. So that's a major compliment. And then, yeah, you know, I think that, you know, the sauce, it's a disruptive element in that, you know? So I think it's like a little bit of a threefold process where you have, you know, the questions that are deeply researched. We try to contextualize them, try to explain to who we're talking to, like why we're asking that. So it's not just like some predatory journalism, like some predatory reporter, like trying to trap them and get them to step on a mousetrap. So that kind of puts them at ease, because ultimately, whoever you're talking to doesn't owe you anything. You know, like they don't need to be generous with what they offer or the tidbits or the anecdotes or whatever. So the more you can put that person at ease, the better. And then if you have some hot sauce knocking them off their game, like that helps too, we found.
Well, yeah, I feel like the interview is a weird relationship in general. I have stayed away since I did junkets like 9 years ago. I just dabbled and I was like, never again. I don't have this skill set, I don't believe. Something that's more one-on-one, less intense, because they're like 5 minutes and then you get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Because as the interviewer, it is your job to make that person interesting, right? But as the person being interviewed, you're in this weird situation where you need to be interesting because you're trying to promote something.
Right.
And so if you don't, then I don't know, it creates, I feel like, all these really weird back and forths. And so I think you guys having something, because I feel like some people, very few people, might not have an understanding of what Hot Ones is. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Sure. It's just a show where we interview celebrities while eating increasingly spicy chicken wings. So it's just one of those things that's exactly what it sounds like. The wings, they go from, you know, a table sauce, hot sauce, to like a novelty dorm prank sauce. So by the end, you have people sweating and spitting in buckets and the like. But to get back to your point about the interview, it's so true, because it's not a natural experience. Like, Phil, I feel like we're brothers in arms. I feel like we're birds of a feather, but this is the first time we've ever met face to face. And like, now on the spot, we have to drum up this chemistry and this energy and make this something that's worth watching. So it's like, outside of just being sort of a socially like not natural thing, you know, we also have that going on us as well, like the million eyeballs on us and like drumming that up and making that fire start from scratch. So I think with this show, the secret ingredient, like the special sauce, the ace up our sleeve is that eating a meal, it's a natural bond. You know what I mean? It's just a social experience. And then on top of that, I'm eating the wings with the guest. So it's sort of this shared struggle, this journey that we go through together. And then by the end, it just ends up like a buddy cop film half the time.
You're like you're like the shaman at an ayahuasca retreat.
You're like leading up to, don't worry, it's all going to be okay.
Like, I've done this
right through for you.
So kind of a question that I always try and ask creators, and I'm especially interested in asking you because you are kind of a different kind of person for YouTube in the sense of most everyone I know on YouTube, it's about them, right? Vlogger, me, my life. Even me, I talk about the news, but at the end of the day, I am the focal point. And while you do also host other shows, you're primarily known for Hot Ones. So as an interviewer, I was really interested in the question of why you do what you do. What do you get out of it? What are you trying to accomplish with that show, interviewing someone, and just the platform you have right now?
Yeah, so I think that with kind of, like you said, you know, it being like all about me or all about whatever, I feel like that with that show, it's so stripped down. You know, it's just a black background. It's the wings, it's the sauce, and it's a bald guy. You know what I mean? So if it's the Sean show all the time, eventually maybe people get sick of that or they don't vibe with me. So I think that the key for us has been to whoever is in that seat, we're going to carefully shape this interview around them. We're going to make them the star of the show because that way you have a different viewer experience every single time. And that's too why we're drawing on such a wide array of people, you know? So like at this point, I feel like it's kind of this cafeteria, this high school cafeteria, or this Hogwarts or whatever, where it's like maybe we have a comedian one day, maybe we have an athlete the next day, maybe we just have some pirate ship crazy person one day, you know, maybe we have a singer, maybe we have a rapper, maybe we have whoever in the seat, but we want the viewer experience to kind of complement the personality of whoever is sitting in that seat. So that's kind of why I think as an interview, it's good to draw that down or draw that back or kind of disappear into the background. Sometimes you have to do some heavy lifting. In some episodes, you have to do more heavy lifting than others, but I think that that's important. Like, I think that that's important to the longevity of the show. You know, the interview is the oldest construct in the history of media, and to just keep it a viable show for a long, long time, I think that that's key to it. Why I do it, you know, I feel like there's a lot in my life that's led up to it. I was a broadcast journalism major in college. I was obsessed with Howard Stern. I was obsessed with David Letterman. I was obsessed with Adam Carolla and Loveline. You know, my summer job when I was in college, I used to give architecture tours of the Chicago River. And there's no real way to connect the dots looking forward. There's that great Steve Jobs quote. But when I look back on all those things, like all of those are playing a role some way in influencing where I am today. And then on top of that, as I'm sure you can relate, you know, there's never a time where you're like, oh, I can just be a TV host. It's not like applying for a job like that. You know, you don't just fill out an application and be like, oh, I can have a show. Like, I guess what...
I mean, for you, I mean, with in the sense of, just to hit on that note, was there a certain point where you realized I'm good at talking with people, or do you even think that? Because I know that there's some presenters that off camera they're like, no, I like literally turn a switch.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in myself, and I have confidence in the team that we have, and I have confidence in the show. And I knew early on, you know, it wasn't always going to get tons of views, and it definitely didn't in the beginning. But everyone who watched it liked it.
Right.
And when that happened, you know, people are like, oh my God, like, I love the show. This is my favorite show. I laugh. You know, like, you're like, oh man, now there's like a responsibility on you because someone's looking forward to this show on Thursday at 11 a.m., whether it's a person in a cubicle, whether it's like someone who's homesick, like whether it's a couple who are going to make wings and then eat them together. You know, like, I have a responsibility to make this show good. So there's that pressure that kind of motivates you. And then you become obsessed with the show, obsessed with the growth. I remember when it was like 3 cameras and 3 people, and now sometimes I look around and it's like, wow, like all these people have jobs and like whatever, all on this, which puts that pressure on it, that motivation. Yeah. And then you probably go through it too. Like, once you get to a point where, you know, when we had like 50,000 or like 10,000 or whatever subscribers, like, you have a bad interview, it's kind of in there. But now, like, once you have 3 million subscribers, I'm like, well, I don't want to humiliate myself on a large scale. So that also motivates it.
Yeah, it's all testing in public.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the lead up, because you mentioned like doing tours, for me personally,
I was a massive introvert growing up. I was very uncomfortable talking to people. And then I ended up getting fired from a job, and I needed to pay rent. And so I got a job at Outback Steakhouse. And being a server, a very bad server for several months, and then getting into it, I feel like that's where I learned how to talk to people and kind of present myself. Did you get that out of tours, or just like from a very young age, you always never had an issue?
I've always been kind of the can sit at any lunch table kind of kid. You know, like I feel like I'm naturally kind of a voyeur. You know, I feel like I like to walk a mile in other people's footsteps, or like understand who they are, where they're coming from. And I just get, you know, a kick out of talking to the biggest weirdo in the room. You know, like that to me is always fun and exciting. So
Right.
I think like I do have that. I am naturally like kind of a homebody. Like when I'm at a party, like after an hour, I'm like, I want to just go home. You know, like
Right.
there's part of that. But then like in the show, when it's lights, camera, action, like to me, it's better than a drug. Like I get such a rush
wow.
off of it that I become kind of obsessed with it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, so because kind of on that note, because obviously you're recording, was that a completely different experience? I saw you on Colbert recently.
Yeah.
Not only do it live, but do it in front of an audience that's not necessarily there for you.
Right.
Because that seems so alien. That seems like on the kind of the cusp of doing stand-up comedy and
For
then
the first time.
actually just going out there and just
Yeah.
like, none of you guys fucking know me. None of you are on my side. Probably.
But I think that it's like, well, nothing really prepares you for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the first time you do it is just the first time you do it, and you're either gonna sink or swim. But then, you know, there's always a part of you that thinks you can, or like dreams that you can. So I think like with that, the way I psyched myself up for it is I'm like, you know what? Like this format has been going on for 40 years. Now there's like 8 late night shows. They all cycle through 3 guests. Like the world is a big place and it's gonna keep turning. Like it's not that big a fucking deal. Like just go out there and do it. You know, like it's not like in that day you feel like it's the biggest thing in the world, but it's actually not. It's actually very like it's a small thing. So it's like just go out there, execute, try not to pass out off nerves or like vomit on the desk, and like everything will be cool.
I think that's really true. It's something that I have to remind myself when I have like a video that I think's bad, or people are calling me out for a specific thing. I'm like, this is gonna go away in 3 days.
Right.
Because right on the tip of my tongue, I have some of the worst things to tear people down. I'm like, just leave it. Just leave it.
Right.
It's good. I think that's an important note for anyone listening at home to just know. Just wait.
The
Sit on
world
it.
keeps turning.
Yeah,
The
sit on
sun
it.
will rise.
People are going to pay attention to another person. It just takes time. So I want to, before we go more into you personally, I want to ask more questions around Hot Ones.
Sure.
So to start off, it's probably a question that you've answered many times, but
I know where this is going.
no, not yet. We'll get there.
Okay, cool.
What person would you love to interview, alive or dead, famous or not?
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, the show is very much like for the people. So like every time I like tweet something, or like every time whatever, like people are like Gordon Ramsay, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr. So like part of me just wants to like get those episodes in and out so that people will just like shut up.
Right.
You are actually an off requested person. I would say top 5.
Well, I'll take it.
There we go.
As long as that's really the only reason I'm gonna do Hot Ones, is so that I can be associated with greatness, knowing that I'm alongside Joe Rogan and Ramsay as far as requests.
Yeah.
Also, you have
And
to
The
ask,
Rock, and then Philip DeFranco.
I love that
It's in that top 5
right now. If you go through your carousel, I'm gonna be 2 clicks away from both Michael B. Jordan and Kevin Hart.
How do you say that?
Which I'm just like, yes, same tier, guys, same tier.
Chisel that into a mountain somewhere. Philly D, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Michael B. Jordan. What was the question?
I don't know. Person alive or dead
Oh.
to interview.
So I always feel like, you know, I think you always want to be kind of challenged, especially when you've done it like 110 times. So I always feel like Andy Kaufman, if you were alive, would be such an amazing Hot Ones guest. Like, not to like draw the connection too closely, but then like even when you see Jim Carrey now, you know, you kind of want to like get him in the seat, because I feel like it would just be like such a challenge as an interviewer when some guy is just like in the clouds and seeing the world with a completely different set of eyes than everyone else.
So you're looking for a little bit of like a challenge.
I just, you know, it's like you want it to be different, I guess, every time. You know?
Because you've passed the Century Club.
Yeah.
Right. So so at some point, other than someone being like, "Shit, that's hot," what do you do? Jim Carrey, I would be too nervous, because there's part of me that really, really idolizes him, and then part of me that would be horrified because you would not know where it's going to go. And it's not like, I think there are a lot of people that think this is like a recent thing. Like,
right.
if you look at old footage, like the behind the scenes stuff that recently came out from Man on the Moon,
right?
You're like, oh, he's been there.
That's what actually, when I saw that, because there was so much that he was like saying that really resonated with me. I was like, damn, I kind of like want to get inside this guy's head, but then at the same time, I know that he won't let me, you know? So I think like that's the thing. Like that's what's like feeding it. Like that's why I want to do it so bad. Like the less somebody wants to do it, or like the less somebody wants to go, like the more I do. I don't know. It's like messed up.
Was people going to just take that quote out of context?
Yeah,
just so
I know.
So you were talking about the amount of work that goes into the interviews. What all goes into the research? Because I noticed that when you do watch, there's so many people that you interview that constantly go like, wow, you guys have done your research.
Right. And I think that that's almost kind of sad. You know, like that they've gone through like all these things and they have like the bar set so low for every interview because of all of the things that they've gone through, that they're like, oh, wow, like you actually did your job. Like I'm blown away. So like that's part of it. But then, you know, it is inherently a labor intensive show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like not only am I eating these scorching hot chicken wings all the time, but we have a pretty lean team. You know, it's like,
how big is the team right now?
It's 6 or 7 people that are working on this show.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people look at the internet and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you don't need that many people," but it takes a lot. Yeah.
Right. People don't understand. People think that like they'll just pop this up in your living room and like it'll all be good. But like no, like it actually, you know, it takes that. So it's like 6 or 7 people on the research side. Like I have like my little brother, like
really,
you know, like making some dossiers. But then you're just in it yourself. So the past like couple of years, we've written every interview has been written by me and my creative partner and all this, Chris Schoenberger. So what we'll do is we'll kind of like divide and conquer. I'll be like, I'll send them like a list of all the profiles and like local paper articles and like magazine articles that I'm going to read. And I'll be like, I'm going to read all these. So you read what's like not in this. And then like send podcast links and every video and like every interview. And then if it's like an artist, I'll be like, I'm listening to this. You listen to that, so that we can deep dive the lyrics. And then part of what you're looking for isn't just like the little nuggets, like the little gems, like the little things that, you know, your audience is going to be interested in, but it's also studying body language, you know, and figuring out like where the cat likes to get, like what makes them like light up, like what are they interested in? Because oftentimes like you'll see interviewers leave those things on the ground and just press forward to the next thing. So I was like, all right, well, that wasn't really explored. I could see just in the body language that they were like excited to talk about that. And then the gear shifted and then now they're stuck in this thing. So I'll be like, those are things that like kind of pop up. And then there's like a lot of pop psychology that's involved. Like I almost like put these people like in a box and then we kind of like have who we think they are. And then I'm like kind of talking to the box. Like there's just a lot that goes into it. So I don't mind popping the hood on it, but yeah, it's been nuts just because you stack so many hours doing it, you know? So
well, I was interested in the psychology of it because I've seen you talk about it in past interviews, and it does seem very much like you were saying they're locked in a box, and you're kind of just fucking with them because if they do go away, it looks bad on them, and they're just happy. And so not only are they off balance, but it's like if I go, it's not going to look great. So let me lean into it, especially now that you have the kind of the archive of who you have. Then it's like, well, Kevin Hart did it, right? This guy did it,
right?
I don't know. It's really interesting. So as far as the gems, right? Is there any one that really stands out to you that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe we got him to share that?
Well, I think like here's just a recent example. So we had out of luck Charlize Theron do the show, right? Which, you know, we've had tons of big name guests on the show, but never, I feel like not one exactly like Charlize Theron, you know, just like never one like exactly like her. And then when you're dealing with somebody like at that level, you know, you can commit to it and like do everything that you possibly can to write the best interview possible, but you don't really know how they're going to play on that day in that situation, what their mood is, how they're going to take to it. It is a freak show. Like I don't feel insulted like when guests come in and they're like, what the, you know, like that to me is like a totally reasonable response to what's going on. But you draw it up a certain way. You know, it's like a basketball coach drawing up a play, and you think like, all right, the ball's going to go in the hoop, but sometimes like it just doesn't. So like we did all these things, we lined it up. Me and Chris were talking it all through. We're thinking about all the holes, all the blind spots, just trying to like lock it down, right? And you're like, all right, like let's just make sure this boat floats. And then when you go in and then she's doing it, and I can see like, you know, when she first gets in, she's a little weary. She's like, all right, like, you know, and then you can see like on question 3, like her shoulders drop, and now she's like fallen into the show. And now it's just me and her and the wings and the sauces. And then afterwards, Charlize Theron is like, this is so creative. Like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? Like when you get stuff like that, and like the play ends up being better than you drew it up, like that's that high. Like when I'm talking about drugs, like that's that high.
Love it. So to take it to a different place.
Sure.
I've seen in interviews you talking about how fans come up to you and the kind of questions you ask. At what point does it stop being weird when someone asks you how your butthole feels? Right?
It never is not weird to the people out there watching. That is not something that this is like, I don't care how accessible I am. All right. Like that is like, it is a little bit strange when you approach me in the security line at JFK and there's 60 people around and you're like asking me about my butthole. So no, you never get used to it. But for the record, doing great, doing fine, battle tested, military grade butthole right here. Let the record show. You don't even have to ask me anymore.
It's such a weird thing to think about because that means that one, it happens so often that you have that answer. 2, at some point, someone was your first.
Yeah,
do you
I
remember them?
Yeah, it was at Whole Foods on 57th Street.
You never forget your first.
Yeah, and I'm just at the hot bar. Yeah. I'm just at the hot bar, and the guy's like, Sean? And I was like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, how you doing? And he's like, how's your butthole? Like that? And I'm like, all right, well, this, you know, went left pretty fast.
This is where we're going.
Do you want a snap or something?
As far as your viewers, are there things that you or a guest do in a show that they get really angry about that maybe doesn't make sense to you initially?
Like react in a crazy way to this hot sauces or whatever?
No, like so for example, I've seen people get really angry. I'm among them, so I can't act like they're crazy. Yeah. When people don't finish hot wings, it genuinely makes me very angry.
You mean like fans getting upset at people tapping out?
Well, not even tapping out, just when they go a bite and that's
a little nibble, whatever.
I mean, I feel like it's a little more forgiving on your show since it's supposed to be like you're dealing with the taste. But just in general, if I'm sharing wings with someone and that's their it makes
you get
me
upset.
Angry.
You're one of these guys.
Angry. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, I feel like there's like fans that like police the bites and police the reactions and like, like police these things. And I'm always like, because to me, like the hot sauce is just a disruptive element in the show, right. And like if I'm gonna have a guest in here and they're taking a bite, like I'm not gonna be just drilling them with questions, shoving chicken wings down their throat and then being like, hey, Cara Delevingne, that does not qualify as a big enough bite. You're gonna have to turn that wing over and take another bite if you want their plug. Like I always feel like it's always, I want to keep it away from being this sort of YouTube chicken wing bar challenge. You know what I mean? So like, I think that, and a lot of viewers pick up on it, is that sometimes the way they do the show will almost say more about that person than any interview question or answer could. Like how they interact with like this weird circus freak show and the degree to which they commit to the wings and to the sauces. Like you can kind of see a lot about that person in there, or like how relatable they are to you, because like everyone watching the show wonders what they would do in that seat. They wonder how hot are these wings, but I kind of like understand, because there are people that I can see guests sometimes being annoyed by how hot the wings are, that they're like, well, I want to actually like do this interview. Like Steve-O told me that after the interview, like that. And you can actually see in the interview, he's like one of the chillest, like that. But he was telling me afterwards, he was like, I was getting annoyed by how hot it was because I actually like wanted to give this interview and like answer these questions. It's like, like I would have, like that. Or you'll see, like people obviously like freak or whatever, like end up in a spot where they can't talk and then maybe they end up frustrated by that. But to me, the hot sauce is just a disruptive element in the interview. Like, it's interview first, and then the hot sauce is just a way to knock a guest out of their PR-driven flight pattern.
So kind of on that note, and because I've seen some people making the comparisons and the notes, you have a very good show, right? What's your opinion as far as other people that are kind of taking it a different way, right? One of your guests, in fact, Kevin Hart, obviously has, what is it? It's the cold as balls. I had to remember. I saw the one with LeVar Ball, which was good. But what do you think about like that show?
Well, I mean, I think that. Well, part of me is like this. I'm like, Kevin Hart, you're in like 19 fucking movies a year, and you're like in 90 commercials, and like what? Like now you're like inching in on my territory? Like, bro, I live above a dive bar on the Upper East Side. Like, can I eat out here? You know what I mean? Like, you did this show, and then it's clear that like, and I'm not blaming him, you know, like I'm sure that there's like whatever, people sit at a boardroom, right? And they are like, oh, well, this show is good. So what we need to do is like put the guest in some sort of uncomfortable situation, and then that's going to yield like this great interview or like this great show. It's not necessarily true. Like, and I've seen whatever, like 10 million ripoffs and all these different iterations and versions and shit. So like, to me, I don't know, watch the show, like, there's nothing proprietary about like sitting in like whatever. I didn't invent sitting in a fucking cold tub in a locker room and like asking questions. And so like, go ahead and do it. I'd like to see you go 107 episodes, Kevin, if you're watching. But
he's like, if Old Spice will pay.
Yeah, right. But like, Old Spice ain't paying me. That's why I'm kind of like, well, what the hell? Like, where is it? But so I don't know. Like, when I see stuff like that,
right,
I roll my eyes a little bit. But then at the same time, like, you know, the interview is a somewhat tired format, especially in the celebrity space. And, you know, like, you do see eyeballs drifting away from the late night talk shows that used to have that whole thing on lock. And I think that, you know, if there is an evolution to all this, and then these things become like a little bit more experiential and people are playing with the format and whatever, like, that's great. I think at some point, maybe it just becomes like so insane and so crazy that maybe it devalues what I think is pure about Hot Ones, where like now there's like 10 million shows where people like doing interviews in uncomfortable positions. But that's selfish of me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, whatever, like, the space is open. I don't control it, but those are the things that I think about, if I'm just being honest with you.
Right. Well, because you're saying that you feel like you have, at least to a small degree, not like fully, some ownership over uncomfortable-ish interviews, or at least ones around it being hot, but not the general idea of being uncomfortable, because you had things like Hot Pepper Gaming, which obviously a different realm, it's someone doing a different experience, but you see that as like a different lane.
And two is, it's like, to me, is it's like this: if the show is good, people will flock to it. And I'm not in charge of what's good or what's not, or what people should mess with or what they shouldn't mess with. Kevin Hart thing is slightly annoying because I can see that there's like major ad dollars and brands behind it, plus Kevin Hart, you know what I mean? And then like, there's people like that I see on the show that I've been trying to get on my show, and then if they do cold as balls or whatever, they're not going to then do hot one. You know what I mean? It's like, part of me, like, that's a little bit of a sensitive spot. But overall, I think like, whatever, if there's somebody out there with an idea and maybe they're inspired by Hot Ones, but if they put the heart and the work and behind it, and then they turn, you know, just an idea into a totally viable show, like, I tip my cap to that person.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of on the note of who you've been trying to get, right, and the frustration there. You have a quote from the LA Times saying that one of the things about Hot Ones is that it operates on the edge of something potentially dangerous.
Right.
And so I want to ask you that question of, who have you asked on the show and they're not responding, or they've said no?
I mean, you know, there's a lot of people, like, I feel like The Rock was close one time because, you know, we pitch these people, we're aggressive with it, and, you know, we do everything that we can. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize how ambitious it is to do a celebrity-driven talk show that drops at 11 a.m. on Thursday weekly with the team, with our shoestring budget and everything that goes with it. Like, it's not easy to get somebody to sit down with you if you're just doing a regular podcast. Like, add to that fact that we have this caveat where you have to eat 10 scorching hot chicken wings. So it's like people behind the scenes are pulling rabbits out of a hat. You know, they're lighting their hair on fire, putting it out in a garbage can. Shout out KP, shout out Brandon Thomas, shout out Sarah Honda. But we always do everything that we possibly can to just keep this train going. And one time with The Rock, I know it was close because it came back to me. They were like, would Sean be down to eat hot grilled salmon strips? And I was like, that had to come out of his mouth. You know what I mean? Like, that's not some middleman. You know, like, that's either out of his mouth directly or somebody that works with him every single day, which, for the record, I am down to do it if you ever want to do the show. But it's like, you know, that happens every once in a while. Like, I remember Andy Milanakis one time, you know, we were trying to get him on the show early on, and he's like, can you send me the hot sauces? Like, cause he's so like, he's just so Andy Milanakis about it. He's like, I want to try it at home and then make sure that, like, I don't pass out. Like, he's so neurotic. So we're like, all right, Andy, like, we'll send you the hot sauces. Like, there's been times where, or like, we oftentimes will be like, you know, like, maybe this person passed because they don't like eat hot food or eat spicy food, but then you don't really know then if that's like a representative kind of like just passing because they're not interested or whatever, or if that's like for real, they're like scared of hot food.
I feel like that has to happen less though now that you guys have become kind of such a staple.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing. Like, you know, early on it was almost like we had to trick people into doing the show, you know, or like, who wants to be that guinea pig? Like, we shot the pilot with Tony Yayo, who's just like the coolest fucking guy ever. So he just was like, yo, that's funny, I'll be in tomorrow. You know, like, that was just great. But like, now that it's a thing, it's just a much easier pitch. And then now even you can just see that I think on a pound for pound level, it is one of the best media stops that you can possibly make. You know, like, okay, you commit an hour and a half of your time, but like, I don't know, like, take any 4 shows and combine them. You know what I mean? Like, Hot Ones will swallow that whole. So whatever, like, you can hit a press day circuit and like do all these things, or you can just do Hot Ones and that'll travel, and we'll put it in front of some highly targeted eyeballs, and yeah, you'll fuck up your day, but you will go down in lore as a guy who cleared the board. And I think that that's attractive to people too, you know?
Right, because it's an interview and an accomplishment.
Right, exactly.
I get that.
Yeah, it's something that you can never live it. You know, they can't take that away from you.
So we talked about people, obviously, that you want to get, right? But as far as people that you have had, I know that I was looking at an interview where you said Nori and Russell Brand were some of the people that brought like the biggest energy to the room. And you've had a lot of really good interviews. Have there been some, and can you tell us who has been the most challenging? Yeah,
I think like... you know, the one that comes to mind, and I'm sure like it's buzzing off in every fan's head right now, is DJ Khaled, who was completely taken by surprise by the show. I think he was doing it as a favor.
Oh, I thought you were like, you walked into the wrong room and we're like, let's just do it. We got
no, it. He like came in just chowing down pizza. And I'm like, dude, are you going to like eat 2 slices? Like, we have 10 wings. He's like, I'll be fine. And he comes and sits down. And I think that he was doing another show. And then this got added in as like, just like some sort of like, hey, you know, like we have this new show on First We Feast called Hot Ones. And he's like, whatever. And then he sits down. He's like, what, you know, and like he was just so taken by the wings. But in my mind, I've said this, like, and Brett Baker, our power ranker, has said it too, that you kind of can't tell the history of Hot Ones without that episode. And he taps out on the third wing and it like goes down in lore or whatever. But to me, it's one of like the best episodes to watch. Like, I think that if everybody just goes through all 10 and everybody falls into the conceit of the show, I think like at some point you have, you know, it's not, like, I like when it just goes flying off the rails in a uncomfortable way sometimes. Like, that to me, like, reminds me that it's real. Like, when somebody comes in...
It just sounds like you want everything to go to shit or be really, really hard all the time. Which I respect, because half the time I do my show, I'm like, this could end my career. Let's do this.
Yeah, then, I don't know, like, I like the chaos. We're not normal people. You know, like, there is, like, part of it or, like, whatever. Like, you make something. I think that that's just, like, an artist where you, like, you make something and then you, like, put it out in the world, or you make something, but then there's always part of you that just wants to, like, set the whole thing on fire, too. Right?
Yes.
I saw your eyes change. Yeah.
I'm like, you know how to read people. I'm like, yes, 100%. At night when I'm questioning everything in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I was wondering. We see everything on camera. Has anyone ever thrown up or shit themselves or something off camera? And obviously you don't want to include it.
Well, I think, you know what? If it's funny, we'll throw it in. Well, you know, like that's our line. I'll be like, yeah. So I think like there's like 2 stories in that come to mind. Bobby Lee, I've never we didn't swab his underpants or anything, so there's no way to know for sure. But he might have done a number 2 in his pants. And from where I was sitting, like it had a quality to it that was like not a normal like fart. Like when I was sitting there, I was like,
see, the thing is, with it being
weird.
Bobby Lee, the question is, did it just happen, or he was just like, this is going to be worth it for the story?
I think that, it's like, I think that it was like the stars aligning in some ways, but then I think that, he probably pushed that boat out to sea.
Because if you actually listen to Bobby Lee on like podcasts or anything, you're like, oh, that's really
par
tame.
For the course,
that's tame.
And then Martin Garrix famously, he was just chugging milk the whole time, which is a big mistake with spicy food, because then when you end up with like all that milk, like that has to come out like at one point. You know, like nobody can drink a gallon of milk, and he was just in there crushing glasses of milk. And then, you know, he's a huge DJ. He had kind of a team. And so they're doing one of those things where they're following him around with a camera. You know, like he has like a vlogger who's following him everywhere he goes. And then by the end, by the way, he's like the sweetest fucking kid. We love him. We still talk about him to this day. But at the end, you know, he's a 20-year-old kid who's like in this fishbowl, you know, and he's got like whatever, like carrying a whole team, got a whole like empire. He's being like vlogged around. He probably like never has a second to himself, you know? And he's like, where's the bathroom? And we're like right there to the left, and you see like the vlogger kind of following him. He's like, no, like back in your hole. You know what I mean? So like we've had like moments like that. I remember like there's a friend of mine who was like, yo, I was in the Maurice, shout out Maurice. He was like, yo, I was in the bathroom and I just hear this person gagging into the sink, like, and he's like, what the fuck is that? He's like, I turn the corner, I just see Riff Raff in a peach tuxedo, just like, like trying to make himself throw up in a sink at the office. So like we've had lots of weird things. Coolio was like passed out in our green room for an hour. Like if I was like looking at thumbnails, I could probably give you like 5 more stories, but yeah.
I love it. So to switch to you personally, we talked to your teams. I don't know if you know that we have some of this. This is a thing that was news to me. Before you were obsessed with wings, apparently you were obsessed with fitness.
Yes.
And do we have this picture that we can throw up on screen?
Ah!
What? Okay, can you walk me through this picture? When is this?
I really let myself go.
What's happening?
So, yeah, I mean, for a while there, Dom, did you leak this?
I came from Chris. Here's the thing. The first thing I said when I saw this was like, I was like, he could say that's not him. Like it's like blurry enough.
Listen, fuck it. I'll say that that's me. Like if that's the pic that leaks, like that's me. So yeah, no, I used to be yoked the fuck out. I got to get that back. That's what happens. Once you start to show when you're eating wings, you just let yourself go. It's probably like 24, 25.
Okay.
Just locked in. Look at that. God, I feel like such a piece of shit now because I've really let myself go.
Here's the best thing about the picture that I'm only noticing now. You can see you're actively pulling your pants down so that you can get a little bit of that V going.
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
What I'm doing is like if I take that hand off, it'll be like a rubber band that's slightly, you know what I mean?
Oh, you're pulling skin.
So if I pull down just a little bit subtly, then like somebody looking at the picture wouldn't be able to tell, but I'm pulling it I'm tightening the drum just a little bit.
So did you just go to the gym all the time?
Yeah, no, like I was about it. Like that's a full-time job right there. I think, I mean, what's going on in my life then is like I played sports in high school, but you know, you kind of just like eat what you want in high school and you can keep it tight, you know? So like whatever, like things are fine in high school. Then I go to college. I'm not really like hitting the gym or playing football or playing baseball, and I'm just like eating whatever and like drinking and partying like 3 nights a week. So you kind of let yourself go. And then like one time I looked in the mirror and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what'd you do? Like, what the fuck happened? So then I'm like, all right, like, you know what? You have to take control of this. And then, you know, I just started like eating healthier. I was at the gym every single day, started dating my personal trainer. Like, I was just like, I committed. And then you just, like, whatever. Like, in the same way, being obsessed with the show is like, you know, like how you can like drive that, like, same thing. It's just, that's the same energy. I'm just pumping it into the squat rack, I guess.
I mean, yeah, are you someone that I think that you just kind of throw yourself 100% into whatever it is, and then other things kind of fall to the side a little bit?
I think that probably
no,
I'm not able to manage. Down with that, you know. Just like I would fall apart. Like, I think like you know what? I'm not a multitasker.
No?
This is what I think I end up like tunnel focusing on whatever or obsessing about whatever, you know? And I think that like it's hard to bubble up if you don't, you know, like I think that that's like the same with Kobe Bryant would say that too. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably an unhealthy source. Like, it's probably coming from trauma or something, or like some sort of like inferiority complex where you just put chips on your shoulder, and like that's what kind of like motivates you to keep leveling up. So I guess,
I mean, that's kind of tied into like the first thing I asked you in the sense of why you do it. So we're just gonna leave this picture up. I mean, I'm sure he's fine with it.
I'm down.
Another one
Wait, you have another picture?
of you.
Oh no!
Oh!
Why would you do this to
The
me?
tables turn. But yo, what were you? You must have been leg pressing 4 plates.
I was running every day. This is from my honeymoon. This is
You got kind of a pull down situation too. What's that about?
well, that's just me trying to cover. That's just me trying to cover. Yeah, no, that was I was like riding my bike, running. Oh, that's right. No, yeah. So the reason I have these legs, it wasn't even running. I would ride my bike to work, and it was an hour to work and then an hour back. So I was just getting 2 hours of like heavy pedaling in every day. But now I live very close to home. I specifically got this location because it was across the street from my favorite breakfast place. And then and through other decisions, I have gained like 50, 60 pounds since then. It's horrible. So this is a side thing. The reason I'm so excited for Hot Ones is today is like day 5 of me going back on clean eating after being a garbage person for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm just excited about anything that makes me feel something other than sadness.
The cheat meal from hell is what we're going to be feeding you up today.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so some other personal things that we have learned about you. I don't know how vocal you are about it. This kind of makes sense, but I'd love you to explain these. In-flight Wi-Fi, why?
Oh, I am... Like, to me, you know, you get on a flight, the Wi-Fi there, and when it first started, I don't know, like in 2014, like 2013, whenever they started doing Wi-Fi, it's slow, it's spotty, it's the worst. And I'm like, well, maybe my expectations are too high. You know, like maybe, you know, I'm 25,000 feet in the air, I'm flying 650 miles per hour. Like, maybe that's just where technology is, right?
Right.
When I'm on a Delta flight or whatever.
Yeah.
It's this in-flight go-go, though.
It's
I think
specifically
like,
that one.
It is that one.
Yeah.
Because if you go on JetBlue, that shit's zipping around.
Not a sponsor, but recommend it.
Right.
Yeah.
Same. But yeah, nobody's in my pocket. Trust me, nobody's fucking paying me. But like, but when that happened, I was like, wait a second. Like, it was a light bulb moment, because I was like, well, the technology exists. They're just purposely withholding it from us. And then too, I'm like, on top of that, that's just like $34.99 to go from New York to LA. So I'm like, the audacity of this company to charge this amount for this kind of service. Like, I seriously think it's a criminal enterprise, and jail's not enough.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, because it's, what other service can you say that you pay either a one-time or a monthly, because they have the monthly, that just doesn't work and is that much money?
And it's because, like, and I guess they probably they don't compete with anybody. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, you're just stuck on there with that shit.
And I feel like a year ago they were like, so we made some improvements, and then I went on a Delta flight and I was like, you fucking lied.
Yeah,
you
no,
lied, and you got another $35.
They never do. I'm just listening to songs 3 seconds at a time, and then waiting 5 seconds for the next 3 seconds to buffer. It's insane.
So then,
2018,
still associated with planes, people who don't hustle on and off planes.
Yeah, I think I have all my pet peeves are like travel related, probably. Yeah, but I always think like this: like, if you're on a plane or you're walking with somebody on a sidewalk slowly, and you guys are like next to each other rather than in some sort of formation where people can pass you, or you're being slow on a plane, like you're holding everyone else up. So if you're slowing down everyone else just through sheer lack of hustle and self-awareness, like that to me is like a horrible character trait.
On a plane, it just made me think of my wife is very all about rules, official and unofficial on a plane, and I think that I found the super deep passion of love for her on a trip that we took about a month ago. We were getting on. It was one of those flights where we were in the back because we have a kid, so they always put you in the back. And we were looking for somewhere to put our stuff, and some person put up their, it was like not a dress shirt, but their suit up there where you're not supposed to. And she looked at it. She said, "Hey, is this yours?" She took it, gave it to him, put her bag up there, and just walked away. And I was like, "I love you. I love you so much."
That's a real one.
And she's nervous about situations, but I think it just made her so angry. She was like, "No, I'm done." So I appreciate that. So
hold on with both hands, Phil, and never let go.
No, never. It's been like, God, a decade. Not married, but together a decade. It's weird to think that, like, I know this one person that long, because I don't have anyone else out like that in my life. I have like friends for several years.
Right.
From that I moved out here, but very few people that have been day ones.
God bless.
So God bless. We also have. When I kind of get some of these.
Look at this, like a laptop of secrets over
I know.
here.
When high school kids do things like starting petitions to get Selena Gomez or some other celebrity to come to their prom.
You talk to Chris. I know you talk to Chris. I know the source of the leak now. Yeah, you know what? I don't like when some high school kid puts together some cute video to pressure Emma Watson to going to prom with them, because it's like, it's annoying on like 10 different levels. Like, first off, just fucking like, oh, okay, like you have to make this cute, like, oh, now everybody has to pay attention to you because you made like some sort of cute video, and then like the whole world has to peer pressure Selena Gomez or like Emma Watson or whoever who's like a super busy person into like going to prom with you. And then if they don't, like, they look like the asshole, but like really, like, you're the asshole. Like, you not only need this attention, but then you also want to like crowdsource all the work on everybody else, and then you end up with Selena Gomez as your prom date. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, why do we all need to like do this for you?
I feel like the only thing that bugs me more is when someone like asks a celebrity on Twitter and they're like, get 100,000 retweets, and you're like, oh, you know what this is about.
Right.
This is about look at the free promo. I'm such a great person.
Right.
Like hanging with the normies.
It's so annoying, because then that puts like 100,000 people that have to like give a penny in order to like make you rich. Like, it's so stupid.
And the last thing I have on this list is reviews on the app Seamless, which if you don't know, because you're out here in LA, is like the New York City version of Postmates.
Right. So, I mean, and I think that this is just like a symptom of like everything, but I'm a huge Seamless guy, big Seamless guy. So we talked about already, homebody guy. Mm-hmm. So then I'll go on Seamless. I'll be like, all right, I'm in the mood for tacos. Like, what are the Mexican joints around me that I can order some tacos from? And I'll look at and I'll like see whatever they have, like the star thing, but then I'll like check the reviews to see if like what's going on with the menu here, like what's going on with the tacos. Are people liking the tacos? And people will be like, it was fresh and it was delivered hot, but it was 5 minutes late. So I want, like, everybody always has this anger, and then they project it on the internet, and like, it happens in the comment sections or like whatever, but like when I see it on Seamless, it always drives me nuts, because I'm like, well, I'm trying to like use this, like I need to use these reviews, but because they're crowdsourced by all these like angry people who just want to take their miserable lives and project it and like use it as some way to like make sure that this restaurant goes out of business, and they've taken time out of their day to just do that always drives me insane. Plus, it's not serviceable at all. Like, the reviews are there so that I know what tacos to get, and that you know what tacos to get, and everybody's got to lift their weight and like talk about the tacos in a real and earnest way. And if you're just using it to try to undermine the restaurant, that does nothing for anybody except your own ego.
On the note of tacos, I was told to ask you, how do you eat a taco? Which is apparent. Oh wow, I love that there is something there for the weirdest question.
Well, so you know this, but like your whole life being like a matter of public record or on camera, any little misstep, like that's a meme, any awkward face, any like thing, right? Mm-hmm. So we're doing this thing and we're eating tacos. And so people eat tacos from the side, right? Which makes sense, because then you end up with all the components in one bite. But you know what? Like, why do I need to live life that way? Like, I kind of like at the end of a hard shell taco, it's just that like meat tube pocket. And like, I don't really like mess with the lettuce really on that level, especially in that type of thing. So I feel like it's just like a task that I want to get out of the way. So I'll attack a taco from the top rope. I'll like take out all those parts that are like lesser to me, the cheese and the lettuce, and then I'll just attack that meat tube. But God forbid that I do that on a YouTube video and then like the whole fucking world is talking about it.
Well, wait, it's because I'm trying to think of the general idea. Because if you don't like that part of it,
it's neater.
Why wouldn't you just get like a taquito or something?
I don't know. Low self-esteem, Phil. I don't know.
Because I'm like, because all you're doing is you're giving yourself a very dry taco salad that to slowly get to what essentially is something you put in a microwave and you eat at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is just a meat tube.
You know, but here's what I'm saying though, is it's like, but I love that meat tube. You know, like nobody likes the climb to the top of the mountain, but everyone loves that view. You know what I mean?
So
like, it's a labor of love.
I love that. Speaking of food, I know that a lot of people always ask you, do you eat wings off thing? You say no. And that you've talked about nachos. What for you, does it do you kind of just live in the kind of bar food area, or like what are your favorites?
You know, like to me, I'll do this. When it comes to food, I'm on like the high end, like Alinea, Schwa, 3 Michelin star. Like I love to get into like a good situation where I'm taking out 13 courses with a wine pairing and just living that life. I love those dinners.
Okay.
But then too, I'm not above an airport food court. You know, like I love some Chick-fil-A, you know, like, so to me, it's the top and it's the bottom of the spectrum when it comes to food. The middle does nothing for me, but I'll eat off a truck or with that wine pairing.
But like, so the worst thing in the world to you is like a TGI Fridays. Because that's
well, I don't know.
Or
it depends. Like that to me, but that to me is low end.
I feel like trash now that I said that it wasn't. Well, I guess I'm a trash person. I feel like growing up, I grew up on like Zaxby's.
Oh yeah. Like, Zaxby's is the shit.
It was essentially just like you eat wherever is outside.
Yeah.
Right?
I think like, and then too, but it's like what? Well, how would you line these up? Like to me. Like, do you think like Chili's, Applebee's, and TGI Fridays? Like, if I'm lining that up, I feel like it goes Chili's, Applebee's, TGI Fridays. Like to me, I goes Chili's first, Applebee's second, TGI Fridays at the bottom.
Chili's. I'd go with that, but it's also it feels like I'm just. It doesn't matter. It's like I'm messing with like pennies and nickels.
Right.
Yeah. No. Like I don't want any of them. But one is obviously better than the other.
That's true. But I'm not above it. Like, I'll go there, too.
Are there any foods that you won't eat? I know that I've seen you, what was it? Was it silkworms I think I saw you see?
Yeah, but I did eat those. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, like, once you're eating silkworms and sriracha crickets and death wings with death sauce, like, I think at some point you're just like a goat in a junkyard, you know? And I think I'm at that point.
I've also heard that you're interested in crypto. Are you involved in crypto?
No. Well, is that in the? So I don't know.
Is this something we're saving for yours? I know that we tried to split some shit. I'm sorry.
We split some shit.
Never mind. We're cutting this. Jason, you now have to officially cut the fucking thing.
Crypto. Yeah, I don't know shit about crypto. You're a crypto guy though, right? But
barely.
We'll get to.
Yeah, no. I gotta double check some of the things my friends said that I'm into, because some of the shit I'm pretty sure is shit they're into and I'm just there.
You have a laptop of secrets, but I have my own little laptop of secrets too, Philly D.
So I think in general, or how I would want to end this, right, is to ask you, you know, obviously you're killing it now. You're doing several shows now. For you, what do you want to see yourself doing in 3 and 5 years?
So I've never really thought that far ahead, because like I honestly am so hyper focused on just the next episode and just executing the next thing. And I think about all the opportunities that I've gotten to get here, and nothing was ever according to plan or the way that I drew it up. Like to me, I'd be happy doing interviews the rest of my life. You know, I would be happy doing like to me, Hot Ones, it's like is like such a part of my even identity. It's like it's my job, and then it's like so much more than that. And I'm just so obsessed with it. And then First We Feast, you know, I've talked about Chris in this podcast. He's my partner in all this. Like me and him, like, you know, to see this thing go from like this little thing into this big thing, you get so obsessed with it. And, you know, I do think that an entertainer at heart, like I love the idea of so many different people watching these videos and laughing and getting something out of it. And I see people throwing these parties with their friends where they all have the wings out. And in a lot of ways, that's like bigger than anything I ever dreamed of. You know what I mean? To have that like real connection. Like we're so online, but to have like a real offline connection with all these people is the thing that I wanted to do. And I always wanted to do dumb shit for smart people. You know, like that's what I always wanted to do. Like in a lot of ways it is that. So when I always think about it or whatever, I always think about like there's an evolution to it. I want to make more things. I want to do more things. I want to do more shows. You know, like sometimes I'll have like an idea for like a cartoon and I'll like pitch the, like me and Chris will like talk it out, or you think about like whatever, like the production company, like the movie, like the thing. You always just want to, even it gets to the point where it's like a hot sauce, you know, like I just want to like take something, make it, and then push it out, and then make another thing, and then push it out, and then make another thing, and then push it out. And I don't know what the form of that is or what the evolution of that is necessarily. I'm just hoping that the next video is okay.
So, but and I love that. But I mean, so as far as the pushing the next thing out, I mean, do you think that is because by doing that you feel connected to the people?
Yeah.
Or is that where you feel like your value?
Yeah. For real. You know, like I think that. Yeah, if I lost that I would, like it would fuck me up. You know, like, you know, I remember what it was like to do something, because here's the deal. You and me, we have bad days, but ultimately we're very fortunate in that the success that we have like, we're creatively fulfilled by it. And then the failures that we have, it's the same exact way. Like, I think that's the most fortunate thing, you know, that I'm not necessarily like working and like doing something like for other people and not feeling invested or emotionally involved or whatever. Like that to me is what I like hold on to and treasure most. So like if I lost that, then maybe that obsessive energy that puts the 12-pack abs in and makes this show what it is, like maybe that goes into like black tar heroin or something. You know what I mean? Like you always just want to take that and like channel it into something positive and better and just keep leveling that thing up. But yeah, there's always a part of it that thinks like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to see what you continue to do with what you have, what you continue to make aside from that, just because based off of what I've seen you talk about outside of your show, based off of talking about here, it always sounds like you want to kind of elevate everything you're doing and expand. And I think that we need more people like that, especially on YouTube. So thank you, buddy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And we got a stop 2 coming up.
I know.